Boom.
Hello, folks. Welcome back. We are back on the hill, back on the podcast, back on the microphone.
It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining in Salem.
Yeah.
If you're don't know where you're listening, but where we live
Yes.
right now, it is almost feels like spring.
My hope for you is that you have your earbuds in your ear and you're in the sunshine somewhere enjoying this. But if not, if you are at work or driving, we're also happy to have you. But man, the sunshine's been amazing recently.
I know. Makes everything better.
It may, especially around here, people just start to lose their mind when the sun comes out. They don't want to do anything else. I didn't. I had a day off on Friday, and I literally just kind of followed the sun. I stayed mostly on my back porch. I did a lot of reading. I was trying to catch up on some reading. And as the sun turned, my chair just followed it through the day.
Yeah.
Did a fair amount of
I don't know. I think it does something to us as Oregonians. We have a
Yep.
irrational relationship with the sun. Most people just take it for granted. It comes up every day, but
Yeah.
that's not the case.
There are
in our world.
lands where it goes down and it stays down for the winter.
Yeah.
But we don't lose it completely. It is just obscured by fog and
Way
clouds.
south.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you're back with us. We're on Sundays. We've been going through going through a sermon series. Believe and Be Changed. It's the Gospel of John. So we've been kind of following that in the podcast. And this week we came on John chapter 10, which is 2 I am statements of Jesus.
Yeah. I am
Go ahead.
the door, and I am the good shepherd.
Yeah, we spent a little less time on I am the door and kind of focused on I am the shepherd. But
Yeah, interesting concept. Hard for us modern, Americans to think about the idea of a shepherd and a sheep. We don't see that very much unless you're in Wyoming or something like that. I mean, we do have some shepherds and sheep around here.
we do, yeah. If you drive south of Salem,
Yeah,
you'll
or
see
out
pasture
east.
land with sheep in them.
Yeah. So the relationship is there, but I don't think it's as like it was when it was written in the context.
I've never had to take care of sheep myself. Have you?
No.
I've been around them. There was, I'd say 4 pastures down from where I grew up. The pasture that I grew up in, which I did. I grew up in a pasture.
In a pasture.
Yeah, about 4, I'd say, down. I'd say west of us was a big field full of sheep all the time. And, I'd watch them, out there sometimes. Most guys had cattle around us.
Yeah.
And then I had a pastor he's only there for 2 or 3 years in Hermiston. And his daughter had a pet sheep. He didn't even have really property or anything for it. He had maybe a half-acre lot
That'd make
or something.
a great pet for somebody.
And she called it Lammy Pie.
Yeah.
And that thing used to knock us down with its head.
Yeah.
He'd knock us over.
Yeah, when they're pets, you don't want to have lammy pie for dinner someday. You want to
Yeah.
keep it for as long as you possibly can. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about that. I mean, I know it was 2,000 years ago that the Gospels were written and Jesus said those words, but it's still relevant when you think that he compares us to sheep. I mean, the creator of the world compares his crown creation, men and women, and all of their creativity and beauty and wonder and problems. He compares us to sheep, not to cows, not to dogs, not to birds, but he compares us to sheep. Kind of interesting.
What do you think about that? I mentioned it on Sunday that sheep obviously there is an original sheep of some kind that God made.
Yeah.
But we have designed sheep to be what they are today.
Yeah, we bred them.
Through selective breeding, the same way that your Chihuahua, that didn't exactly come out of the mind of God.
Your Labradoodle.
There was some dog form originally that we have, turned into everything from a pit bull to a Chihuahua.
Right.
And so, sheep are kind of designed, and we designed them to be dependent on us.
Yeah, we design them to behave. There's an end in mind, right? Sheep aren't.
Yeah.
You don't have a flock of sheep because they're all your pets. You have a flock of sheep because you hope they produce either wool or meat, and those are the only 2 real options, I think. So.
And also we didn't get into this on Sunday to help maybe the very end, but we didn't really get to unpack it. But I think it's worth unpacking. That not only were sheep like just livelihood, they were clothes for you. They were food for your belly. Their skin would have been parchment. Parchment is not the right word, but they would have been writing material. For scrolls and such as that. I mean, today even we'll have lamb skin. Covered Bibles and stuff like that. But also, they were a huge part of the sacrificial system.
Yeah, so in the Hebrew world,
they were like all of my sins are going to go on you, and then you're going to go onto the altar.
Yeah,
and we didn't make a deeper connection. I mean, I would, if we had more time, we'd obviously unpacked it. But instead, Jesus does the reversal, and he said, actually, I'm going to take the sheep's sins on me,
Yeah.
and I'll go to the altar.
I'll be the lamb. I'll be the lamb.
Yeah.
That was John the Baptist, one of his first proclamations right there in
Yeah.
the first part of John is,
Yeah.
look, here
Behold,
comes the Lamb of God, takes away the sins of the world.
Yeah.
So when he said those words, that was immediately that was recognized in context because they were used to lambs that took away sins. That was the sacrificial system, right? But when they said this human being was the Lamb of God, that had to turn some heads and made them at least produce some conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently I did some reading outside of the sermon too, that, when you're doing sermon prep, you just read a bunch of things. You study everything you
Right.
can, and you're like, what belongs in here, what doesn't belong in here.
Looking for
So I know both of us and Daniel and Alfonso were all looking at shepherd sheep stuff, but I was also looking at the ancient Far East, and they were describing how shepherding was seen in the culture and how it was recorded, and they were saying while it was very much looked down upon, like we know for a fact in the Old Testament, the Egyptians thought herders were just
the lowest rung of the
lowest,
ladder. Yeah.
and so, they're told, don't mention to Pharaoh that that you are a sheep herder. Like that won't go well for you.
Yeah.
But that, yes, it was very much looked down upon, lowest rung of the ladder, but also there were other places recorded where kings had been called shepherds before.
Yeah.
And that they were supposed to be caring for the people. But it was never true.
Yeah. Yeah, all through the Old Testament. We actually opened up the message on Sunday with that context a little bit, that throughout the Old Testament, God had people over his people, had leaders over his people, that he called them shepherds. Ezekiel talks about it, Jeremiah talks about it, Isaiah talks about it. And he calls out a lot of the shepherds who were bad shepherds. They were fleecing the flock, or they were selfish, they were self-indulgent, they were self-serving, and in fact, some of the strongest judgment in the Old Testament is really against the shepherds who weren't being true shepherds. They were just there to take advantage. And what I started to say earlier about in today's context, it's interesting. Now, we wouldn't call them shepherds, but the idea of people who are in positions of authority, who are there supposedly to take care of people under them, whether that's church structure, political structure, business structure, family structure. The principle remains the same, that God places people over other people to care for them and to lead them. And so it's pretty obvious that when it works, or when those leaders are great, people of integrity and people of skill, the people under their care prosper. When those people are evil, selfish, wicked, or incompetent, the people under their care suffer. Great example right around us today, right? Of leaders of nations that are just, the nation languishes under their poor leadership.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just saw I try to be careful how I consume news, but I don't want to be completely disconnected from the news. It's always this tough balancing act.
Yeah.
Like what's too much
Sure.
and what's just enough. But anyways, I was consuming some news just this last week, and they were pointing out another senator's net worth, and how this person had only been in office for so
Right.
long, and their pay was relatively low, for where they lived and everything.
Yeah.
And yet they were already a multi-millionaire, $30 million or something in 4 or 5 years. And they were just pointing that out, like, hey, can we talk about this? And of course, that's an old conversation that's been had for a long time. I mean, there's even apps now that are made to just follow a particular politician's trades. Because if you follow their trades, you will make money, because they have insider information, because they're passing laws that make these stocks go up or down.
Right.
And so that's as someone who's supposed to be shepherding us. I'm not trying to stir up, frustration at our politician. I'm just saying, when you read Ezekiel, let me just read this. Ezekiel 34 says, "The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel." And he was speaking here, I think, strictly to the priests. "Prophesy and say to them, even to the shepherds, thus says the Lord God, Ah, shepherds of Israel, who have been feeding yourselves.
Yeah.
Should not shepherds feed the sheep? Yeah, he's like, hey, you're eating,
Yeah,
and
you've
the
got
sheep
this
are
all backwards.
starving. He says, you eat the fat, you clothe yourself with the wool, you slaughter the fat ones, but you don't feed the sheep. The weak you've not strengthened, the sick you've not healed, the injured you've not bound up, the strays you have not brought back, the lost you've not sought, and with force and harshness you've ruled over them. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and they became food for all the wild beasts. My sheep are scattered.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's obviously a biblical religious context. He's not talking about heathens or pagans. He's talking about people that should have known better, right? And that's just one of the most tragic things from a personal standpoint for me. That's one of the most tragic things to watch is people who have a platform of power or influence or authority, and they use that platform to just basically self-indulgent.
I mean, it's easiest, I think, thing in the world to pick on politicians, to be honest. It's just, but also
it's almost expected.
The same is true of pastors of flocks
Absolutely,
as well. I mean, how many times has the church and the reputation of Christ come under attack because, just some news segment on some pastor's 3 homes and private jet and something else.
Yeah.
And he's still, in front of a congregation begging for money. And I think that's a fair critique by the world to say, hey, it's not because I think a pastor couldn't have money and be faithful in having money or that they have to be poor. But I think, obviously, it doesn't make the news that someone's just making a good living. It makes the news when someone has
extravagant.
Extremely extravagant.
Yeah. Yeah. That's again the paradox. I think that people who say, I don't know. I mean, again, if you have no faith, if you're a heathen, if you are a skeptic, if you're a stone cold atheist, I don't expect a lot of benevolent sort of attitude or operations. I mean, it's every man for himself, and it's get all you can and so forth. And that doesn't surprise me. It's when you see people who claim to be people of faith, who claim to be even followers of Jesus, to be more specific, and then you see the way they use power or how power corrupts them. And that's a very real thing. Power and authority has power in and of itself to change a human being. And so I think a lot of people start well. They start humble. They start hungry, so to speak. They start compliant. They genuinely want to serve, and they want to help their people be better or people flourish. But man, when success comes, or when wealth comes, or when more power comes, I think you just have to be careful to stay low.
Yeah.
To stay low. Yeah. And it goes across the board. It's not just one particular group. It's politics, it's business, it's church. It's the principle remains the same. Doesn't matter, I don't think, what the context is.
In business, I've seen, recently things that made headlines because a particular founder or CEO of a company has chose to limit how much they make in order to keep people on the payroll and make sure that their employees are being treated well and have a living wage. And so they're like, I could take this bonus, or I could make sure, like, I feel like I started this, but now there's 200 people or 200 families even, like, depending on this business succeeding, and I want them to succeed. And I love those stories.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, those are rare stories. What makes the news is the guys who have been, off the charts or very extravagant. But how many leaders are laboring in obscurity? And they're doing a wonderful job. And this goes big or goes small. I mean, it's not just, you don't have to have a church of 1,000 or a business of 100 employees to go sideways. You can go sideways with just a few people. I think of a father in a home who's leading his home, who's shepherding his family, his wife and children. He's not lording it over them. He's not the dictator of the home. He should be the father of the home and should be the shepherd. That job description fits, even a small group of people.
So since we did talk a fair amount on Sunday about the shepherd piece, but not a lot about the door piece, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. What do you think he means when he says he's the door, or what's the significance that he calls himself the door?
Well, I think off the top of my head, the door was the access point, right? The door was who was coming in, because it's describing a door is obviously a door of a building or a corral or a pen. And so I think Jesus was saying, listen, be careful, because there's a lot of people out there that want access to the sheep. Gosh, if that doesn't play today, how many people? I mean, whenever you go to a website to look at something, it asks you this question: do you mind if we sell your information to anybody? Do you mind if why don't you configure your, how you want your information used? And so what are they doing? They're just saying, listen, there's a whole bunch of people out there that want access to you, to your demographic, to your
saying,
income.
I'm going to shear you. How much would you like me to take off?
How much would you like me to take off? Yeah. And my answer is always no, I don't want you to, but it gets out there anyway.
Trisha got on to me before because sometimes when you go to check out, like in a physical place, they'll say, I just need your zip code.
Yeah. Or you want an email receipt?
I'll say, no, you're fine without it.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I have to have a zip code to put in. So I'll say, just put yours in.
Yeah.
That's what I always say, just put yours in.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, oh, all right. And sometimes they're like, no, I don't want to give it to you. Well, I don't want to give it either.
Yeah.
I just want a transaction. I don't want you to know where I live.
Gosh, and there's a lot of super smart people out there, smarter than me, that are figuring stuff out like that. If we just had zip codes or emails. But a point being is that there's something precious on the other side of that fence, on the inside of the fence. And it's what I love. It's my sheep. It's my, and like you said, it's not all simply altruistic. This is my sheep were my bank account. My sheep were my riches. That was my inheritance. That's what I'll leave that to my kids. And so I want to protect what I believe is valuable. So, when Jesus said, I'm the door, he was basically saying he did say in the context, beware of anyone who doesn't come in the door. The thief, he said in John 10:10, he comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. So the thief comes with not just casual interest, but with deliberate intent. There is an enemy of our souls after what is valuable, which is our life and who we are. And he doesn't come to do us any good. He doesn't come to see us flourish. He doesn't come to see us well. He comes to do evil. He's a thief. And Jesus said, look out, beware. And
it talks about who goes over the wall or who comes through the door. It says, if anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find good pasture. And that's the thing, right? Like, have I gone through Jesus? Really, how do I say this? In church, you've got attenders, you've got visitors, you've got joiners, you've got a little bit of everyone.
Curious people.
Yeah, curious people all. And the question I think we're always trying to ask is, have you gone through the door? Yeah. Have you got here through Jesus? Yeah. Or did you get here through word of mouth, or a friend brought you, or are you in? Yeah. Have you come through, or are you just kind of looking over the fence and what's going on over there? What's happening?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? And so you and I think I can speak for you too. We as pastors, I'm very aware. I try to be who's coming through the door. When I see someone walk through the door that's a regular member, that serves somewhere in the community that we know, I don't really, there's nothing, I just welcome, hey, good to see you. But sometimes I'll see a stranger literally come through the door, and they're visiting, and I notice, I just wonder, like, who are they? And, and I think as pastors, we have seen, and this sounds terrible maybe to say, but I'll say it because it's reality, that I often wonder, is that a contributor or is that a consumer coming through the door? Mm-hmm. And I get it that at some point maybe we're all consumers, but to have a healthy community, I think you have to move at some point from being a consumer to a contributor. That works in a family, right? When our kids are younger, basically all they do is consume. We feed them, we clothe them, we send them to school, we teach them things, and it's pretty much a one-way transaction. I mean, we get hugs and I love you, Daddy, but at some point you train your children to be contributors to the family. You're going to take out the trash, you're going to load the dishwasher, you're going to mow the lawn. And so I often wonder about that doorway sort of encounters. Are you coming to consume, or are you coming to contribute? And I believe that's an indicator of where you're at spiritually. Yeah.
I also, I thought a lot about this during the sermon prep. I think if I brought it up, it was quickly in the sermon. But the fact that the things in my life, they have to come through Jesus to get to me in a way. If you're in the kingdom, then they have to come through Jesus to get to you. And I don't know. There's something about the sovereignty of God in that I'm still kind of chewing on. Like, what exactly does that mean? And I believe it. It's not that I don't believe it, but what does it mean? And I think a lot about Keith and Maya because they're friends of yours, and they've come here and spoke before. They're going to come back and speak in
in our MAP program.
Yeah, in our MAP program, Ministry of Apprenticeship Program. Sorry, it's hard to say. But she said something one of the times that she was here about her battle with cancer. And I probably won't get it perfectly, but she said something to the effect of that God told her that she kind of claimed this as true, that if it's come against her body, it will still be to the benefit of her soul.
Yeah. She said my body, my spirit body, doesn't have cancer.
Yeah, my body has cancer, but my spirit doesn't too. Both those things. And I've thought a lot about that since then. Like, just because something is against me doesn't mean that God can't also use it for me.
Yeah. And I mean that's life, right? That's the flow of life. I don't know about you, but I've been robbed out of my house. I've had people break the windows of my car and steal things out of it that I would have given them if they just didn't break the window. But that's another conversation. But there's always that sense of violation, like, hey, you had no right to do that. That wasn't yours. But the thing that Jesus said was interesting. If they don't come through the door, he said, they're thieves and robbers. They're coming in some other way. So a thief rarely would come through your front door unless you leave it wide open. A thief looks for an open window. A thief looks for a back door that's not locked. A thief looks for a way to get in that's not protected, that's vulnerable. Yeah. So I think that's, again, our broken world. There's things that we don't watch carefully. We're not vigilant about. And if we're not careful, again, and like the deception of, how many times have we had people trying to sell us something and they're not looking out for my best interests? No. They just want my bank account because they want to sell me something that ultimately I'm never going to need, right? So the vigilance piece, I think, is a big deal of hey, I want to watch.
I think a lot about Dean Sherman's teaching. Dean Sherman was in Youth with a Mission, still is, I think, for many years. And he taught on two topics mainly, relationships and spiritual warfare. And spiritual warfare, he'd always talk about access and the way that the enemy gets or doesn't get access to your life. And he described doors. A door is the part of the wall that has options. It can open or close. The rest of the wall is like, it's just closed. You're not going through the wall, but you can go through a door. And then he would say, like, have you opened a door, or do you need to close a door? Or what does that look like?
Is there
the access
a hole in the wall somewhere?
Yeah, what's the access point, in your life? And it was a couple years ago, didn't someone come and steal a bicycle right out of your garage?
Yeah, I left the garage door open.
Because the garage door is open. It was daylight too, though, right?
Middle of the day. Yeah. Pretty brazen.
And someone walks up, just takes your...
They've got their bike, but they like the one that was hanging from the ceiling.
Like, hey, I got access to this place. Someone left the door open. Just came and took it. It didn't ultimately, I think, you caught him and gave him the bike.
We had an interesting encounter. We did,
It's just funny because earlier you said, if you didn't break my window, I'd give you the thing you want. But I think, didn't you give him that bike?
Yeah, that ended up that way. It was kind of interesting. But again, you just think about even the circumstances of that particular incident. I did go look for him, and I did find this. He was a young kid, just about not even a quarter of a mile from my home, riding my mountain bike, my Trex mountain bike, which was a nice bike.
Yeah, those are nice bikes.
And when I caught up to him in a parking lot, and I got close to him, I could tell immediately that he had a drug issue because of his face and his skin. And I asked him right away, are you using meth? In this particular case, he said yes. How old are you? He said, I'm 18. And I said, man, you're too young for your life to end quickly. I wasn't threatening him. I'm just saying meth will kill you. So it should, but I wasn't immune from that thief. I wasn't immune from being robbed. And so honestly, I don't leave my garage door open as much. And the point I'm after here is that do we really believe that we live in a fallen world and that there is a thief but this isn't a thief that's now after my groceries and my bike. It's a thief that's after my soul. And do I live a lifestyle that's vigilant, not paranoid, not in fear all the time, but vigilant? I'm aware, because I think some people what they want to believe the best about everybody.
Yeah.
There's a limit to that, where that passes into naive living, naive thinking, and I don't. And I think life proves it out, because we lock our doors in parking lots. We don't hand out our codes. We don't hand out our PIN numbers, because we don't believe the best about everybody.
Right.
And in my opinion, it points to the gospel. We're broken people that need help.
Those are the wolves and thieves, but it also mentioned hired hands, hirelings.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. I thought, some of my relationships that I have, they may be friendly, but they're not necessarily actual friends. They're transactional.
Right.
Like if I stopped paying the subscription, you wouldn't let me keep coming here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We love you as long as
Oh, it's so good. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, come on in.
Yeah. Is there anything we could do for you? Like it feels like family. It feels like friends.
And that's how they're trained.
But if the subscription lapse, like, hey, your credit card is out of date. We need to get a new one on file. No, you're just happy you always tell me how much you're happy that I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, we are happy you're here.
But
if you don't give us an up-to-date credit card, you're not my friend anymore. Like this is a transaction.
Yeah.
And I just think, like with Jesus, the transaction's been taken care of. Like he's paid.
Yeah.
He paid the price. And he shows up whether I've been good this week or I've been bad this week or I've been, whatever. He's in my life. And of course, that doesn't mean like Romans 6, what shall we say then? Shall we not saying, we can just sin because he's in my life. He's never going to give up on me. No, because he's in my life, because he's never going to give up on me. He gives me more incentive to not, sin, to not, live a life unworthy of the huge gift that he gave. How unworthy would it be? And how unworthy would my life be if I said, just pick up the tab, so I'll just do whatever I want? Like, it's miserable. It's terrible.
Yeah. While you were talking, I was thinking about something that's kind of maybe we were over Christmas holidays, which was just a few weeks ago. We always watch a bunch of old Christmas movies. I think a lot of people do that. We watch Elf and Home Alone and White Christmas and Wonderful Life, all those things. And those movies have been around for many, many years. But there's a scene in White Christmas. This is if you've never seen the movie, this is an old movie, folks, but very traditional.
I love it.
And these two sisters meet these two other guys, but the one guy is a producer. Bing Crosby plays the part of this very successful music producer. So he's got contacts. He's got resources, and he's trying to help her out. Well, they get in this conversation at the table, and Bing Crosby is the elder there, trying to help this poor girl struggling to get into the music business. Yeah. And he says something to the effect of, "Come on, kid, everybody has an angle." Yeah. And she's like, "What?" He goes, "Come on, you don't know that?" I'm paraphrasing, but everybody has an angle. Do you think everybody has an angle? So what I'm asking is a thief who's a blatant thief who comes only to steal and destroy. He has an angle, and his angle is, I just want what you have, because either A, I don't want to work for it, or I want more.
So the question is, do I think everyone actually has an angle?
Does everyone have an angle?
I think, honestly, for all sin and fall short of the glory of God, we're all broken, and we all tend to, like, what am I getting out of this? But I have found inside of the kingdom of God, truly selfless people
have an angle.
Yeah, they can have an absolute angle, but they can also be so incredibly generous to like, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
like almost like why are you being so good? And then they can answer, oh well, it's not that I don't have an angle, but Jesus is taking care of me. He's picked this up for me, and so I can love you.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. I think everybody does have an angle, and that's a slang, right? You have an angle, but the idea behind it is what's driving you, what's motivating you. Mm-hmm. I would echo the same thing. You and I know men and women who are in our community who their angle is they want to share their resources with other people. Their angle is they're generous. Mm-hmm. They're grateful. They're thankful. They genuinely want to see other people prosper. That's the most beautiful thing in the world.
It is.
Yeah. That makes you believe in humanity again. Right?
Yeah. There are a number of people in my life over a lot of years that have done something like just so incredibly generous. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Altruistic.
Yeah, and then again, they're broken people, and they might do other things where
Sure. They're not
it's
perfect.
transactional.
Yeah.
But there are times when we reflect God's heart that way. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
beautiful.
We made a comment on Sunday. We didn't stay long, but we said, and this will resonate with somebody out there. There's sheep, and there's shepherds, and then there's a third category of people called sheepdogs.
Yeah.
You think that's true? Are there sheepdogs?
I think
should
so.
Is someone called to be a sheepdog?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how you define the terms. Because if you start defining, because honestly, if you're in the kingdom, you're a sheep. Period.
Yeah.
There's not a biblical category, I think. But he also calls some of us to be shepherds.
Right, yeah.
And we're not the good shepherd, but we are a shepherd.
Yeah.
And I find that they are, I would call them lay shepherds of sort, who they're not called to, pastor a flock, but they have their eye on who's a wolf.
Right.
And
how the flock.
Yeah, they're looking around and they're like, this dude is dangerous. This female is out for something. This is whatever. And I'd say that's kind of a prophetic gift in a way.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I don't mind having a category that's called, sheepdog. I think it's almost kind of fun, in a way. Biblically, no, there's no sheepdogs. You're just a sheep. But I get where that comes from, and I don't dislike it. Matter of fact, I love having a few sheepdog around. That could be the security team, honestly.
And we have those. A lot of people may not realize it, but in every one of our services, we have someone in there that is on. They're recognized by us and trained by us to be the security. Oddly enough, or not oddly, but most of those have some kind of security training, law enforcement training.
Yeah, we talked about some of them the other day, and we're saying it's funny how those people, they don't turn it off. There's no off switch.
They've been trained.
After they've been trained, especially I think some of them have gone through serious training or war or, time on a force of some kind where they can't let it go.
They see the world very differently.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, probably a little more suspicious, but in a good way.
Suspicious,
but I think that's what the prophets were in the Old Testament. I think if you were to look at somebody that really wasn't a pastoral position, but I think the prophets were the sheepdogs in a way.
Yeah.
They warned or tried to warn the people of a wolf in their midst or something that was threatening the flock. I think Jeremiah was a sheepdog. I think Nehemiah in some ways was a builder, but he was a sheepdog personality. Like, you guys wake up. Hey, come on.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talk about going down rabbit trails for sermons. It's easy to start watching those sheepdog competitions and stuff, and you don't want to stop. They're so fascinating.
Yeah.
Those dogs and what they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, they just, with a bark here and a nip there, they can get,
an animal 10 times their size.
Yeah, and it feels like one dog is moving 50 animals. Like, how are you doing this?
No.
But they do it.
We worked on a ranch for a season up in Canada, and it was a cattle ranch. It was a working cattle ranch, and we had an Australian Shepherd, and that dog was brilliant and fearless and totally confident in his ability to move a herd of cattle. And the crazy thing is the cattle were intimidated by this little dog, but it was weird. Like he had just won their respect somehow, and they did what the dog told them to do. Went where the dog told them.
This probably doesn't have any spiritual application, but I grew up in blue heeler country. Back then, this is the 80s, early 80s or so. I feel like the blue heeler was a very popular breed where I grew up. So they were kind of everywhere. And I rode my bike everywhere as a kid. I lived down the country, so if you wanted to go see a friend, you were going to ride 5, 6, 7 miles to go, have someone mess around with. And there were certain pastures I knew before I went by this pasture, I'm going to go find a stick. And then I'm going to hold it on my handlebar. Yeah. I'm going to ride as fast as I can, and I might have to, like I'm whipping a horse, but I'm hitting the blue heeler to try to get him off me because they just and they probably wouldn't, actually hurt you. There was just the instinct to drive you.
Yeah, they're doing what they were somehow designed to do.
Yeah, they're design. That's it.
I think though the door thing and the shepherd thing is Jesus. The beauty I see there is he was inviting wandering sheep to come. There's a place of safety. There's a place of belonging. There's a place where you can grow and you can flourish. And I think that's again the heart of the gospel. Yeah, and that's what church community I think should be. We should be the best at it. The world's out there doing business to make money. I get it. That's just part of life.
Sure.
But the church isn't out there doing business, so to speak, to make money. We're out there to care for people. And so we should be leading the field in as far as altruistic leaders and leadership and pastors who care and shepherds that that protect the flock, protect the vulnerable. Because a sheep, like we said on Sunday, is a super vulnerable animal, just defenseless, has nothing to do, can't hide, can't run fast enough, can't fight. They're just totally defenseless.
Well, we can probably start to close now, but one of the things that we didn't get to in the sermon, but he says there will be one flock and one shepherd. It's one of the things is that I have other sheep.
I have other sheep that are not of this fold.
There'll be one flock and one shepherd. And of course, we believe he was talking about the Gentiles, us, who he's bringing into. There wouldn't no longer be this dividing wall between Jew and Gentile or any of the other categories, but that you're either a child of God, adopted into his family, or you were not.
Oh,
man, what an amazing thing!
Yeah.
Like we're a diverse group of sheep,
right?
You know, and
if you were to take that thought, what you just said, I have other sheep, and if you were to look at the context in which the Bible was written, or even the Gospels were written, the Christians were called pagans.
Yeah.
The Christians were called pagans because they didn't believe in all the other gods of the Roman Greek world.
Yeah, they were almost like atheists. You only believe in one God.
Yeah, and he's a shepherd? Come on.
Yeah.
Because the gods of the ancient world, they weren't shepherds. They were capricious. They were selfish, like you said. They wanted your sons, they wanted your daughters, they wanted your money, they wanted they were perverted. They were plentiful. They were everywhere. It was a never-ending, exhausting setup of religion. And so Jesus comes on the scene and says, "Hey, I'm the good shepherd. You can follow me, and you have nothing that I want.
Yeah.
And I have everything to give that you really need if you just realize who I am." I just think that's the upside down part of the gospel.
It is. Yeah, that the shepherd laid down his life for the sheep instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
That's not the way it worked up until Jesus. And then he charges us to be like him. So what does that mean? Like how do I lay down my life in community?
Yeah.
You know.
And I think we're working from such poor paradigms, like when we think about being generous, or when we think about being forgiving, or we think about whatever it is that makes for a flourishing humanity, we see it as, well, again, God has some angle.
Yeah.
Back to the angle.
Yeah.
But God has no other angle other than to see humanity that he created in his image flourish the way he designed it. God doesn't need my money. He doesn't need my volunteerism. He doesn't need my time.
Yeah.
He looks for us because he has everything to give, and we are needy people.
Yeah, actually we're going to get into that next week. So next week we're going to start on John 11, and this is the resurrection of Lazarus, and breaking it up into two spots. But next week we're going to talk about that. Like, what's God's angle? Like, okay, he wants glory. Does that diminish me, or does that enlarge me?
Is that an egotistical thing?
Yeah. When I give God glory, is that, sometimes he helps me and sometimes I need to help him, or what does that look like? And it's interesting. It's really, really, really fascinating. I think, Lazarus is also the hinge of all of John.
Right.
Everything turns on.
Everything moves
on
after
chapter
this.
11 on Lazarus. It's all building up to this. Then when he, when he shows the authority that he has over death, then they're just emboldened. We have to kill this guy. And we'll find, too, after that not only do they want to kill Jesus, they want to kill Lazarus.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
We're going to eliminate the evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy that just died, let's kill him.
Yeah.
It's wild. But also it reads as true. That's another thing I think I've got out of John as I'm reading it this time. This is not a made-up story.
Right.
This is how humanity behaves.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
There's a pattern being described.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would encourage you, if you're listening, you've never sat down and read the Gospel of John in sequence and in its entirety, and read it with an open mind, read it with fresh eyes, but you're going to see that it's really, like you said, it's a building of, and it's going somewhere. John's taking us on a journey. There's something John wants us to understand.
Yeah.
And you see this pattern, we mentioned it, of John 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, where he's healing people, he's restoring people, he's welcoming people. And every time he does something miraculous or wonderful or beautiful, he's challenged by the religious people.
Yeah.
And they accuse him of being a bad shepherd. They accuse him of being a maniac. He's
being
possessed with a demon.
demon-possessed,
And I just think John is helping us He's just taking us by the hand to show us something that, like you said, is going to climax in the raising of Lazarus from the dead. That will be the final straw for them.
Yeah, it really is, because even after 11, all the rest of the book from 12 on is that really the last week of Jesus, the very end, because in 12 you're going to see the triumphal entry and wash the disciples' feet, and then John 14, 15, those are the prayer
You're right.
of Jesus, the final kind of impartation that he's given to his disciples before the cross, and they're still like trying to figure it out. There, even though he said, multiple times, especially it's recorded more often in the other Gospels that he's saying, "I must be crucified. I'm going to be crucified." They still like, well, that probably is like when he says he's a shepherd, but he's not really a shepherd. There's some meaning behind crucifixion. Yeah, it's metaphorical, but no, he meant it.
Nope.
All right, folks. Well, we love you dearly. If there's a way that if you're a sheep and in need of some prayer and conversation, we would love to do that with you. We care for a fair amount of people here at Church on the Hill between the two campuses, and we don't. The two of us don't personally know every single name of people that come in the door, but Jesus does. And we do our very best to care for those that God has brought us through our team and counseling and other ways. So we would love to talk to you personally. There are other ways you can get counseling here at Church on the Hill through the ministers that do that and do it well. You can join a life group, and that's another way to just kind of be known. I encourage you, don't be a nameless sheep in a community, but be known not just by your Savior, but be known by your community as well.
Let the church help you figure out what's your angle.
Yeah. It's good.
Everybody needs to know.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.